Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to our Latin Sukkot. It's a night of celebration and unifying in the light of cultural diversity. Hosted by the Consulate General of Israel of New York, JCRC, and Impacto Latino. As you know, we are celebrating the alignment of the Jewish holiday Sukkot and National Hispanic Heritage Month, which combines to create a very special Latin Sukkot, which we are celebrating today virtually because of the effects of COVID-19. But we still have such an amazing program for all of you, and we are so happy to welcome so many incredible leaders and advocates of diversity and education from New York, but also with ties all over the world. This will definitely be a Latin Sukkot we will never forget, since I myself am an Argentinian with a Jewish background. So I'm so excited to be a part of this. Thank you all for joining us, and let's get started.
Thank you, Sophia, and thank you everyone for joining us. There is no better time for us to gather with our friends in the Latino community than the Sukkot holiday, which falls amidst National Hispanic Heritage Month. Our friend Michael Miller will introduce our new guest.
Shalom, and welcome to Sukkot Shalom, the Sukkah of Peace. Sukkot is a festival filled with joy. We build our huts, we build our Sukkot outdoors, and we invite guests, which are known as Ushpizin. Today we have a wonderful guest, a very, very dear friend, Elizabeth Velez. Elizabeth is the president of the Velez Construction Company, and Elizabeth has been to Israel on several occasions and has really become a very much of a part of our family. We thank her so much for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing from you, Elizabeth.
Hello, everyone. We now have with us Elizabeth Velez, the president of the Velez organization. The Velez organization is a second-generation construction firm started in 1972 by her father, Andrew Velez, and Ms. Velez is an advocate for diversity in procurement and employment. She is a sought-after speaker and serves on many boards of incredible advocacy organizations focused on construction industry issues, minority and women business development, the diversification of corporate America, the trades, and human rights. Thank you so much, Elizabeth Velez, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for asking me along.
So, first of all, how are you celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month?
I feel like I celebrate all the time being a Latino. But the best way, I think, to really celebrate and even showcase our heritage, one's heritage in general, is to include others. So for me, Hispanic Heritage Month is a time of reflection on Latino achievements throughout the world, and also a time to focus on making us stronger as a people. So how can we go about putting policies and procedures and just camaraderie, building those bridges to bring us to a better place?
Right. And I know you took a very enlightening trip to Israel. What would you say are your favorite or most memorable moments from that trip? And how has that trip inspired you in your perspective and your work?
Oh my goodness. I actually have been blessed to go to Israel on 3 times, on 3 exchanges of ideas. And it was a wonderful cultural, but also a social and political bridge to me as a person. So going around Israel, going to the Golan Heights, going to Gaza, walking in the old city of Jerusalem, those were all things that touched me deeply. But perhaps the best part about going to Israel for me was something that was deeply personal, way more personal. On my second trip to Israel, I met someone very special on the trip, and we got to know each other walking the streets of Jerusalem, among other areas, sailing on the Sea of Galilee and other places. And that person became my husband in November. And so I can say affirmatively that one of the best parts for me in going to Israel was finding the love of my life and falling in love in Jerusalem.
And how would you say your organization has changed since its inception? And what are some of your main future goals as president of the Velez organization?
Thank you. That's a great question. My dad started the company almost 50 years ago, and I started working for him as a small child, as a young girl, coming to the office with him and just really understanding what it was he did. I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would end up building a life in this industry. It's a very tough and challenging industry. Back then, my father's concern was really getting work, building a great reputation, a high ethical standard, high integrity. But bottom line, paying the bills and raising a family. I have 6 sisters. And so it's a big family, a lot of mouths to feed. And he used this industry and construction more specifically to set him off on this path. My vision is a little bit more broad, and I'm fortunate to be able to inherit this phenomenal company. It's been underway for so many decades. My vision is our motto, our new motto, and that is we build where life happens. So the focus on the jobs that we take, and we're selective in what we do, is building schools and hospitals and community centers, really going to where our life occurs. And so moving in that direction, and then also ensuring that it is a diverse environment and that we include everyone in the ability to build the skyline of New York.
Beautiful. And how has COVID affected these goals and your community?
So this pandemic has really hit to the core, I think, of anyone throughout the world. But for us and our goals and our imperative, the health crisis of COVID has created a wealth crisis, especially in our communities of color, especially in the Latino community. What it's revealed is the disparity between wealth, where wealth is concentrated, but also health. It has shown that, especially for us here in New York City, the communities of color, Black and Latino, have been affected in a disproportionately increasing measure with regard to COVID. Again, on the economic side, the pocketbook being laid off, as well as on the health side. We are experiencing COVID at greater rates. And so for me, it has given us an opportunity to peel back the onion a little bit, see what we need to do to strengthen our communities, to make them stronger, economically, to come out of this for sure, but also to ensure that we have a pathway to better health, to be able to weather these kinds of storms.
How do you feel that we can get through this?
I think we have seen, in a most beautiful sense, if there's a silver lining with this COVID pandemic, is that we are stronger together. When we build our communities together, we can achieve the impossible. We can hopefully vanquish COVID to the corners of a world where we never see it again, or other similar pandemics. Working together, we can do this. Being in New York City, that was hit so hard early on, and seeing how we've been able to come out of this and persevere has taught me that we are also very tough together. We're New York tough, certainly, but that as I look around the globe, I'm seeing how we're able to really be able to work hands in hand to get through this crisis. For me, it is a call to arms. It's a time, figurative arms. It's a time for us to share our ideas, lock arms together, and work together to level the playing field, remove social injustices that are there, especially those injustices that affect certain communities like the Latino community disproportionately, and move on. That's a lot of the lessons that I've seen actually over in Israel, the ability to work together, to work as a community, and come through better and stronger on the other side.
That is a beautiful ending, especially now since we're celebrating diversity. Thank you so much for joining us at our Latin Sukkot. Thank you so much, Elizabeth Velez.
I'm so sorry we're not celebrating together this year.
No.
It's one of my favorite times of year, truly, is celebrating Sukkot with my Israeli and Jewish partners. I look forward to next year for sure.